Before we get to the mayor's management report, the last council meeting we had a discussion about the matter that I had asked Deputy Mayor Peter Ivanovich to take to the Board of Ethics. The reason why I did that is there was a lot of speculation and misreporting and misstatements about the misconduct or apparent misconduct of the mayor and city staff. I felt it was important that we had an independent view, and so by charter, we had a city official take forward to the Board of Ethics. They have looked at the matter since our last meeting and have ruled that there was no preferential treatment sought or received by the mayor. And I hope this puts this matter to a close. I think we need to move on and stop questioning people's motives and intentions and look at facts, because in this matter there was no act or act of misconduct, that was ever articulated other than the perception that there could be a possibility of misconduct. So that puts the matter to a close. I'll open it to the council. Peter, if there's anything.
Yes. I've thought long and hard about this, and in fact wrote down what I say tonight, so with your indulgence. The events of the last few months regarding the mayor can best be described as Oliver Stone comes to town. Bizarre conspiracy theories have been piled upon top of each other, creating a mountain of innuendo. It's been to Rye's great benefit that the Board of Ethics brought us back on firm ground. As you know, they found that the mayor and city employees have not violated the public's trust. The mayor was treated by the building department and the tax department just like any other citizen. The Board of Ethics, led by Chairwoman Beth Matthews, plus John Alfano, Ted Dunn, Kristen Wilson, and Scott Pickup, deserve our thanks for their hard work and their contribution to the community. And I particularly thank Kristen Wilson and Scott Pickup for their efforts in creating the timeline of events, which is now a public document. Although it was necessary for me to write to the Board of Ethics, that doesn't excuse the anguish caused Maureen Ekman of the building department or Noreen Whitty, our tax assessor, by having their integrity questioned. Unlike council people, they don't speak from the dais and can't defend themselves as we might. I apologize to you. It is my fervent hope that you, Maureen Ekman and Noreen Whitty, never have to undergo this experience again. Rye faces major problems. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Roads and bridges need repair, sidewalks must be built or improved, and crosswalks made safer. Underneath our roads lie millions of dollars in needed repairs to sewers and storm drains. We have no significant protection from another flood. The sluice gate is not a significant protection, it's just a start. And even a stroll, as I walked here from my office to City Hall, even a stroll down Blind Brook reveals that its retaining walls are caving in. All told, according to the city planner, Christian Miller, not even including the walls of Blind Brook, our capital needs for infrastructure repair exceed $42 million. Every sentence we devote to this malicious fiction about the mayor is a step away from addressing the real problems of Rye. I hope to say as little as possible, or nothing at all, on this question going forward. We have real work to do. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Suzanne?
Yeah.
Catherine? Laura?
Yeah, I must say that I respect the integrity of everyone who's on the city council and everyone who's on the city staff. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about the integrity of the process here. And I'm not entirely comfortable with that, and I've shared that with a number of you who are up here. I really want to put this behind us. I personally feel that the conclusion that they've arrived at is probably the conclusion that should have been arrived at. But the problem is that I'm in a position up here, and I'm new at this, but I'm in a position up here where I feel like I have to defend the process that the city went through. And I don't know that I'm not comfortable with the process. Specifically, I'm not comfortable with the process because I made it very clear the last time we talked about this that I felt that the Corporation Council was conflicted in participating on the Board of Ethics. And my discomfort, my feeling that the Corporation Council was conflicted, it continues. I don't think it changed from the first time that they looked at this inquiry to the second time. And I think that the process really would have benefited if the Board of Ethics had received separate counsel. And I say this knowing that I really want to assure everyone that I have nothing but respect for the people who sat on the Board of Ethics. I think that they carried out their duties carefully and ethically, but I just feel that the appearance of an unfair process compromises the integrity of the ultimate decision. And I have too much respect for the city and too much respect for the mayor to not say something about that at this point. I feel that the mayor deserves to be cleared if in fact the determination was made that it did not engage in any wrongdoing, any improper use of his office. And I truly believe that the problems with the composition of the Board of Ethics really undermine people's confidence in the process.
Okay, Laura, thank you. Joe?
I would agree with Laura, and I otherwise made my position pretty clear at the last meeting, that I think that the process, as Laura indicated, has been flawed. The developments that have taken place since our last council meeting have only, in my view, exacerbated that. And clearly this has been a distraction. It's gone on for months. It didn't have to go on for months. And we all want it to be over, but we all want it to be over in a way that people can have confidence and faith in the process. And I don't think that's the case. I hear references to misstatements, conspiracy theories. I really don't even know what happened. And the first time in all this time that this matter has been going on that we got any attempt at a representation of the facts was just yesterday when the city manager gave us this bullet point of events. And at a minimum, I would like to know more about that. Even Judge Alfano, during the Board of Ethics meeting, raised the specter of taking sworn testimony, putting it on the record, hiring an independent counsel to help them. And I think John was on the right track. He wanted to make sure that the process was had integrity, and I think that's where Laura and I are coming from as well. So, I had proposed an independent review. I still feel that's necessary. Based on my comments at the last meeting, I don't think that there's any appetite from majority of the council to do that. So, I don't want to belabor the point, but I certainly don't appreciate attacks that come my way and the way of other members on the council simply because we're advocating for a fair, transparent, and open process. And that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, Richard?
Yeah, last time we met, I said we should let the Ethics Committee make the final judgment, and we'll have to live with it whether we like it or not. I don't think that there was any conflict because people know someone else. This is a small town, everybody's going to know somebody or somebody else who knows somebody. So that's not necessary conflict. I also stated that if they felt that there was a conflict, that they should be the ones to decide what to do. We are here as a legislative body, not an investigative body. The City Council is here to legislate, not to investigate. So it's up to them to decide and provide us with the written facts as they find them. if you still, my colleagues still feel that it's very important to get an outside counsel, you can pony up the money. I'd be happy to pick one out for you. I have 3 people I can know that have no dealings whatsoever with the city of Rye. So if you want to give the money to Scott, I'll select a couple of people. That's-
Thank you. Susanna?
Just one last little comment is I think very much so we need to put this behind us and move ahead on the city's business. So I respectfully appreciate everything everyone has said in the process. I want to thank the Ethics Committee, and I recommend that we move ahead to get back to the tough financial business in front of our city, of getting us on back to a financial sustainable path for the future in a very tough year economically. Thank you.
Okay. So I would just say that as the person being accused, I'd ask Joe or Laura, what is the misconduct that you are alleging that took place between the mayor and city staff? What is the act, the specific act of misconduct?
You know, Doug, I really, really don't think that the tone that you're taking at this very moment and the tone that you've taken throughout this process, and more particularly in the statements you've been emailing out, are appropriate, okay? If it were me, I think at the very beginning, Doug, and I really didn't intend on engaging you like this, but since you're pointedly
Well, I'm asking,
not
what am I
pushing-
being accused of, Joe?
Somebody once gave me
I asked you
advice.
that
don't-
last meeting, I didn't get an
Somebody
answer.
once gave me advice, don't push your way through an open door. Well, you know, since you asked, Doug, I think that everyone on the council was extremely sensitive to allowing you and the city manager to get out in front of this early on. I think the reason why this dragged on for months is because you did not avail yourself of the opportunity to put out the facts as to what happened when you had that chance. And we all sat back. We didn't jump in. We didn't pile on. We gave you the opportunity to handle it. That didn't happen. And I don't think that referring it to the Board of Ethics was the right way to proceed, because even as Judge Alfano said during the deliberations, really, the Board of Ethics is not the one that does the investigation. Usually, the City Council presents the Board of Ethics with a set of facts, and then they opine as to whether or not there's been a violation of any ethics. I've never known what the facts are. The few things that you have ever said that I've heard are, number one, these allegations are absolutely false, okay? 2, I recall you saying at some point late at night something about Home Depot cabinets. Didn't really know what that meant. And then at some point we got this one-sentence email with an attachment of a house listing from 1992. Okay. And that was it. So I think the reason why Tartaglione was able to continue to come up here and make these allegations is because no one told him that he was wrong, and no one gave him an alternate version of the facts. And that's all I was looking for. So, you know, I don't know what's true and what's not true, Doug. I've always gone out of my way to say that these are simply allegations. Okay. But when you asked me the last time, I told you, and I'll tell you again. I don't know why you want them to be repeated, but the allegations were that you had a number of violations on your house.
No, I had 2 violations.
Well, that's my point, Doug.
Right.
I mean,
On December 3rd.
we go from
December
you,
23rd.
Doug, you asked me the question. We go from you telling us adamantly on this dais that the allegations are absolutely false to the building department months later issuing violations. Okay, so, you know, I hope that it's clear that there were violations on the house, there are violations on the house, and that you did receive 2-star tax exemptions when you were not permitted to. Okay? I've never said that you did it on purpose. You know, I don't think that anyone's trying to, you know, question your motives or intentions, I think is what you said. You know, we have obligations sitting up here on the council, all right? And as Laura said, we're just trying to fulfill our obligations the best way we know how. Okay, so I don't think that the process played out in the best way. I don't think it played out in a way that gives people confidence in the outcome. Even the decision or the minutes of the Board of Ethics, they don't refer in any way, shape, or form to any findings or any record that was created. So we still have no idea why they decided what they decided. So, you know, I don't know why, Doug, you feel the need at this point to, again, continue to lash out at people like myself and Laura, simply because we're trying to make sure that the process has integrity, so it's fair for everyone. Fair for you, fair for us, and fair for the people.
Okay, well,
Just to be
let me
clear.
respond to that,
Sure.
though. You still didn't answer the question. Having a building violation is not improper behavior. What was the conduct that took place between me and city staff? You know, if any one of us could have a building violation, doesn't mean that's misconduct. What is the actual misconduct that you're charging me, or that you're alleging that took place?
I've never alleged anything, Doug.
Well,
And having a violation is not right, it's wrong. Having a violation means that there's been a violation of the housing code. Collecting 2-star exemptions when you're not permitted to collect 2 means that something has happened that shouldn't have happened. Okay, and I think that even you're acknowledging that. So,
But
again, I don't understand, Doug, why you feel the need to be so combative at this point. Okay, no one on this dais has ever accused you of anything. Okay, but the allegations that were made were serious enough, and the reality that there actually were violations when you said there weren't, and the reality that you were collecting 2-star exemptions when you shouldn't have, creates an issue that needs to be addressed. We can't just turn the other way. And, you know, and for anyone up here, because they like you or are friends with you or don't want to believe anything wrong happened, for them to just walk away from it or not do their job, I think is wrong. And I think that's all Laura and I have been trying to do.
Okay, well, I did address those questions. When I did say there were no violations, there were no violations. The violation came December 23rd, once the building inspector was hired in November, after the passing of Vinnie Tamburo. And those violations are 2, the written record. One is a conversion from a 2-family house to a 1-family, which took place in the early 1970s. I was in the 3rd grade. And the other is an illegal 3rd bedroom, which when you look at the housing listing, when I bought the house in 1992, it says specifically 3rd floor bedroom / storage. So this is an issue that all Rye residents face. When they buy homes and they go to sell them, that they have to go back and legalize the work. And that's all I'm doing. So the question goes back to you, Councilman Sack. What is the misconduct that you are now saying has to be investigated?
First of all, this is the most I've heard you open your mouth about this in public since this first arose
You can
3
ask
months ago.
the press, my statements, the documents I've supplied, people on this council.
Doug, I don't know what happened and what didn't happen. Okay?
I've
So-
explained what happened numerous times.
Well, forgive me, Doug, for not thinking that your explanation is completely fulsome, okay? So what I would like is for an investigation into what happened. I just want to know what happened, okay? I don't know what happened, okay? I would like to believe that there is nothing wrong with what happened. But at this point, I don't know.
Well, I just explained it to you. On the star exemption, we applied for, as required, our new primary residence in 2000. Now, normally, that is not removed necessarily. And so, when it became about, as I have said, with the change in the STAR program this year, there are a number of discrepancies statewide that came about, and the law allows the state or the taxing authority to go back 3 years.
Well,
that wasn't good enough.
if
I
you-
owe what I owe, and I paid the full amount.
If you would, since you're now so ready to answer questions, Doug, perhaps what we can do is either have the council or have an investigator that we hire, which sounds like he knows a few people, put these questions to you, and then you can answer them. And
I
this
just
is, and
answered
this
them,
is,
Joe.
and this is all we've been asking for from the very beginning.
No, I just answered them, okay? And the staff has answered them before the Board of Ethics. So if you have issues, let me just finish though. This all started with a video that was taken by Leon Schulte of my homes, following me around, which this is a volunteer gig, folks, and that's a little creepy. And then it was followed with a complaint by Ray Tartaglione, and those allegations have been parroted by people on this dais. And so if we're going to do an investigation of the mayor and my relationship with city staff, I think we need to take a 360-degree view, and let's look at the relationship between the accuser, Ray Tartaglione, Mr. Floaty, and people on this dais. And so why is it that we have an ad during the campaign that specifically targets Councilwoman Parker and Councilwoman Gamache, paid for by Ray Tartaglione? Why is it that we haven't seen the financial disclosure statements of who contributed to certain campaigns? And were those filed properly? And the importance of campaign finance reporting. Why wasn't that done properly? And why is it a certain council person, while the rest of us are humiliated on the van, the women particularly, why is Joe Sack not on the floaty mobile? And finally, why is it when the people of Hen Island foiled the city council for emails that not all of those emails were disclosed? So if we're going to look at the mayor and the staff relationships, let's do a 360-degree review and look at the relationships between the accuser and people on this council. And then I think the people of Rye will get a full understanding. But I say we move on. This is not about motives and people's intentions. This is about Rye, where we give people the benefit of the doubt unless there are facts to put forward. And my question goes back to Councilman Sack and Councilman Brett. What are the facts of misconduct that you're accusing the mayor and city staff of participating in? Because we're still waiting.
How disgusting, Doug. How disgusting you are to try to slime people like that after what you've just been through. Okay, I mean, that's just absolutely outrageous. You know, I went on record that ad that Ray Tartaglione did was absolutely wrong. I wrote a letter to the editor. Okay, I can't control what people do, Doug. So you're insinuating that I have some sort of relationship with Ray Tartaglione?
Just answer my question.
Okay, and you're
It's all about
insinuating, and you're insinuating, Doug. Excuse me, and you're insinuating that there has been a FOIL request that hasn't been answered properly. You know, that's just disgusting. I can't believe, Doug, that after all that has happened, this is how you're responding. I understand you're under a lot of pressure, and I understand this is taking its toll on you personally, but that's no way to act.
No. All I'm saying is, if you're going to question the relationship between the mayor and city staff with innuendo, then let's take a full view of the relationships with the accuser as well.
Peter, did you have something?
Yes, I would just like to reread a paragraph I read just about 6 minutes ago. Rye faces major problems. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Roads and bridges need repair. Sidewalks must be built or improved and crosswalks made safer. Underneath our road lies millions of dollars in needed repairs to sewers and storm drains. We have no significant protection from another major flood. The sluice gate is just a start. Even a stroll down Blind Brook reveals that its retaining walls are caving in. All told, according to the city planner, Christian Miller, our capital needs for infrastructure exceed $42 million. I'll just close by saying, again, we have real work to do.
Laura.
I'd like to defend my own integrity here for a moment, because I have nothing to gain by questioning the integrity of this process. And I resent the implication that somehow I've got personal motives here. For what it's worth, I frankly think that whatever errors you made with regard to the star tax exemption and the building code violations were innocent errors that could happen to any person who lives in the city of Rye. That is my personal view. My objections are to the process that was employed here, specifically the participation of the Corporation Council and the city manager in the deliberations of the Ethics Committee. I said, and again, I felt that my own personal integrity was questioned here because I said on this dais in public that I felt that they were conflicted in the last go-around, and I think that they continued to be conflicted in this go-around. I think that it also calls into question whether or not the way that the city code sets up the Board of Ethics really functions when what you have here is not a question of whether or not you did something wrong. The question that was raised was whether or not there was a misuse of the office of mayor. The question that was raised was whether or not you were treated the same as any other citizen would have been when these errors came to light. And that question deserves a reasonable procedure for responding to it. And that's my only objection here, and that I feel that the procedure in this case was not unimpeachable, and I felt that it lacked integrity. I've done a fair amount of research, and I'm going to pass it on to the Corporation Council because I know at some point we're going to revise the city code, and I'm going to pass on to her research I've done on the composition of Ethics Committee and best practices in terms of codes of ethics and the composition of an Ethics Committee, because I think if you ask anybody who participated in the Ethics Committee, they may have questions about whether or not the process really worked in this case. So I will pass that along, and I will share it with anybody else on the City Council or anybody who would like to see it, and I will pass that along to her. But I honestly have no agenda here except to make sure that the city's conduct in this matter was unimpeachable. I agree that we have much more important things to take care of, but the city's integrity is also a very important thing as well. And unfortunately, I felt that some of the criticisms of this process were criticisms that I did unfortunately agree with. So that's all I have left to say.
Okay. Well, you know, part of my talking points were to defend the staff as well, because it wasn't an attack on the mayor. It was an attack on the building inspector and the tax assessor, and did they act improperly as well? And so I think that they need some defending, because what the record clearly shows is there was no improper behavior. So,
Doug, you've taken an ugly situation and you've made it exponentially worse, and I think that you should be ashamed of yourself.
Joe, really, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to defend the city staff.
Doug, you're trying to slime people and drop bombs, and it's inappropriate, and I resent it, and, you know, it's just completely wrong.
No, I disagree, Joe. You know, when
You
you're
should be ashamed of yourself.
nobody can
Ashamed of yourself.
No, Joe, I think
You're supposed to be the mayor of the city, and this is how you act. It's absolutely awful.
No, it's basically asking the accusers to specifically say what the charge is.
I'll say what they are.
No, we're moving on with the
You
agenda.
better move on, sir. You can't answer the question. You can't answer it.
Absolutely.
How did I get a title report that said your house is a single-family home, a legal single-family home?
Oh, no.
Please, don't
Sir.
speak from the audience,
Sir.
that's inappropriate.
You know,
I mean,
Wait for
No,
public
come on.
time.
Come on, let's go.
All right, so